Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's telephone town hall with Congressman Rob Bresnahan. During this call, we'll be taking questions from constituents like you. So to ask a question, please press star 3 on your telephone keypad to enter the question queue. And anytime during this event, you can also get signed up to receive the Congressman's newsletter by pressing star 6. So again, press star 3 to ask a question and star 6 to subscribe to our newsletter. And with that, I'll turn it over to Congressman Bresnahan. Congressman, the floor is yours, sir.
Good evening, Northeastern Pennsylvania. Thank you so much for joining me tonight for a discussion on the government shutdown, what federal resources are still available, and how I can best represent you in Congress. As Dirk said, if you have any questions, please press star 3 to be added to the queue and ask a question. And if you'd like to sign up for our newsletter, The Bresnahan Beat, please press star 6. So, as I am sure everyone knows, the government shut down yesterday morning, shortly after midnight. Right now, the short-term funding bill we passed in the House to keep the government open sits with the Senate. Before we go into the questions, I want to explain what this funding bill, specifically known as a continuing resolution, is. That's something our office has been getting inundated on calls with, and I thought this would be the perfect opportunity to talk about a continuing resolution, or a CR. This is a funding bill that maintains the government current funding levels. This specific bill would keep the government open for 7 weeks through November 21st and has absolutely no new policy changes. It is a clean resolution that allows us to keep the government open while we continue to negotiate the traditional appropriation funding process. I voted to keep the government open. I voted to protect services for small businesses, veterans, our seniors. I voted to make sure that the 10,000 federal employees in our district still receive a paycheck. The shutdown, in my opinion, was entirely preventable, but the Senate refuses to reopen the government. These political games are not helpful and instead harm our troops and those who rely on essential government services like Social Security. The government does no favors when it's locked, which is why I'm here in Washington ready to reopen the government. And tonight, I'm here to answer your questions on the government shutdown, how it may affect you and our region. With that, I'll turn it over, open up the lines, and take some questions.
All right, here we go. We've got our first caller. It's Nolan from Scranton. Nolan, welcome to the call. You are live with the Congressman. Go ahead with your question.
Hey, how are you, Representative Bresnahan? I saw online that members of Congress still get paid during a shutdown, but everyday workers won't be receiving their checks. Is that true?
Unfortunately, that is true. The burden of funding the government rests with Congress, so it's crazy to me that we would still get paid while members of our military go without a paycheck. That's because how the Constitution is written, that it says that Congress and the President must get paid. Pretty crazy to pay folks when they can't do their jobs. That's why I personally sent a letter last week to the Chief Administrative Officer, the CAO of the House. It had to be hand-delivered in person to ask that my pay be withheld during the government shutdown. You expect us to do the most basic part of our job, fair to you and the over 10,000 federal employees in our district. When the government shuts down, hundreds of thousands of members of the military and federal law enforcement continue to serve our country with no guarantee of receiving a paycheck at the end of the day. Also, I've co-sponsored legislation to ensure these individuals who keep us safe and protect our country are paid during a shutdown. I was an original co-sponsor of the Pay Our Troops Act, which would ensure military members continue to be paid and receive benefits during the shutdown. Something else I co-sponsored was Pay Our Border Patrol and Customs Agent Act, which authorizes pay for Border Patrol and officers of field operations who are required to work. I think it's totally ludicrous that members of Congress are being compensated to not do what we are constitutionally obligated to do.
All right, moving on. Our next caller, it's Karen in Strasburg. Karen, you are live with Congressman Bresnahan. What's on your mind?
Hi there. Yeah, I was just wondering, does the shutdown affect Social Security anyway, and benefits that we get, like the elderly get, like food stamps and stuff, SNAP?
Great question. Also, Stroudsburg, we have our little way of saying things. So thank you and greetings to Stroudsburg. Hopefully you'll be enjoying the Pickle Fest this weekend. But yes, you are going to get your Social Security payments. They will be uninterrupted. However, there may be limited access to services like card issuance and benefit applications. If you're having issues receiving your benefits, please call our office immediately. That is what we have been focused on. It's why I'm in Washington working with our various different caucuses. But today we have just been, and me personally, field constituents calls dealing with, different interpretations and, working to just be able to be here for you. Our Washington, D.C. phone number, for those of you at home, it is 202-225-5546. And also on our website at bresnahan.house.gov, there's a new tab in the corner that specifically references the government shutdown, and there are about 4 or 5 pages frequently asked questions that hopefully will provide some color to navigate this. The payments will continue uninterrupted, limited services, Medicare, Medicaid benefits and coverage continue, assuming the shutdown is under 3 months. If this is still shut down for 3 months, there will be another call that we will be hosting. Open enrollment starting on October 15th. However, agencies may be, just because of furloughed staff, there can be some bandwidth constraints. Communications could be delayed or outdated, unusually long call times. So that's what we're here to do. Reach out to our office. It's a fluid, evolving conversation, but that's ultimately what we're here to do. So thank you very much for the question.
That's great. Thank you so much.
All right, if you've got a question on your mind that you would like to ask live on this call, please press *3 on your telephone keypad to enter the question queue. Again, if you've got a question on your mind, please press *3. And to get signed up to receive the very informative newsletter that the Congressman and his staff put out, please press *6 to get signed up. Next up, we're joined by Natalie in Freeland. Natalie, you're live. Go ahead with your question.
My question is,
Hello, Natalie.
yeah, I'm here.
Your question, we did not hear it, ma'am.
Actually, I didn't say it yet.
I thought you guys. I apologize for interrupting.
No, that's quite all right. I was going to ask what she just asked right before me, and basically,
Well, what else is on your mind? Fire away.
Actually, what else is on my mind is, why can't people just get along, even in government, to work hand in hand? Why can't that happen?
Don't always believe what you see on the media. I'm on a group called Problem Solvers Caucus. There are 24 Democrats, 24 Republicans, and we meet once every other week, sometimes once a week, and we talk about what we can do to move the ball forward. And we realize that there will be some things that we just don't agree on that Democrats aren't going to agree with, and there's going to be some things that Republicans don't agree with, but there's more that we both agree on, and we have a responsibility to govern. We have a responsibility to legislate, and that's what we meet and talk about every time that we get together. Right now, there's a big conversation about permitting reform, and not necessarily changing what we are actually reviewing in the process, but finding more efficient ways that we can actually get shovels into the ground by not negating any of those necessary studies, but finding ways to overlay them on one another so there could be tasks done in parallel. That is something that we're talking about inside of the Transportation Infrastructure Committee. It's something that we're talking about during permitting reform and inside of problem solvers. So there is a way for us to coexist. I personally believe that there is, and unfortunately, the media, mass media, television doesn't necessarily give us enough credit sometimes because they only pay attention perhaps to a certain few group of people. But I'll tell you that it's something that we pride ourselves in. I'm not sure of how many different bipartisan bills that I'm on here. I look at it for the subject matter and for the context of the bill, and if it's good for Northeastern Pennsylvania, if a Democrat wrote it, I'm certainly going to be on it. And I think my case record, and if you check us out, I'm sure the hospitals is another great example in Scranton. We have been working with the governor's team. We've been working with our state representatives who have different letters next to their names. So I'll tell you that from our perspective, we start out every day about how do we fight for Northeastern Pennsylvania, and that's our priority number one. So really appreciate that question.
All right, part of the technology that we're using for this live telephone town hall affords us the opportunity to do poll questions. This is where we want to hear from you and get your feedback. Please listen to the question and use your telephone keypad to respond. Here's the question. Do you believe Senate Democrats should reopen the government so we can pay our troops, keep our national parks open, and ensure access to vital government services? Please press 1 for yes, press 2 for no. So that question again, we're looking for your input on, do you believe Senate Democrats should reopen the government so we can pay our troops, keep our national parks open, and ensure access to vital government services? Please press 1 for yes, press 2 for no. There you go. I see a number of people are keen in their response. Thank you very much for participating. And let's go back to the phones. Our next caller with a question, we've got George is joining us. George, welcome to the conversation. What's on your mind?
Hey there. How's it going?
We're doing awesome. As awesome could be here in Washington right now.
Yep.
With the circumstances that we're plagued with.
Yeah. So I was just wondering, the federal workers that aren't getting paid right now, are they going to get their money back?
Yes, they will. Under the Government Employee Fair Treatment Act of, I think it's 2019, all furloughed or unpaid essential workers will receive immediate retroactive pay once funding resumes.
All right, hearing nothing further by way of additional question, let me remind you again, if you've got a question on your mind, we'd love to hear from you. Please press star 3 on your telephone keypad to enter the question queue. And take a moment during this event and press star 6 to get signed up to receive the Congressman's informative newsletter. Again, please press star 3 if you have a question, star 6 to get subscribed to the newsletter. And looks like we've got Charles next. Charles in Milford, go ahead with your question, please.
Is that me?
Yes, sir. You are live on the call. Go ahead, please.
Yes. I wanted to know if you could put forth a bill, and so when the people don't get paid, like the federal employees, that Congress and the Senate will also not get paid, and it might make things a little bit better and quicker. Because I was a former federal employee, and I was affected many a times in my 30-year career, and I didn't get paid, and it was not fair because I was mandated, and I had to work. It wasn't a choice. You go to work. It didn't matter if you got paid.
Well, a simple answer there is heck yes. I think it goes back to one of my answers previously about if members of Congress don't do what we are supposed to do, we should not be compensated. It is as simple as that. We have a job to do. Our job is to legislate. irrelevant to what fingers are being pointed in what direction, we still have a responsibility to do our jobs. I hope that there will be more members of Congress and perhaps the Senate that will take that lead to forego their compensation during this time. And honestly, it's just not fair. You can't expect a federal worker to just not receive a paycheck, or anyone, whether they're TSA or like you, sir. It's just not fair to be able to finance their life and have to burden, with credit cards. I mean, in my prior life, if I was not running my company, I wouldn't have a company, and I certainly wouldn't have a job. So these shutdowns do not do anyone any favors in any spectrum. So that's a great idea. I'm writing it down. I'm going to check with Ledge Council to see if anyone else is currently jumping on that. I have another theory about why you shouldn't have to pay income taxes while the government is shut down, and we started looking at possible language there, because the last thing anyone should be doing is giving us any kind of revenue when we are not functioning. So hopefully the next town hall that we do, we can discuss where that language takes us. So thank you very much for the question, and I really do appreciate you taking the time to dial in.
Our next caller with a question is Jacqueline in Wilkes-Barre. Jacqueline, you are live with Congressman Bresnahan. Go ahead with your question, please.
Hi, good evening, Congressman. My husband is a 20-year employee of the Department of Defense. He works at Tobiana. As you can imagine, this whole year has been a roller coaster of, is he going to have a job tomorrow? We went through the buyouts. We went through all of that. With the shutdown, although right now Tobiana is still working, but we went through this in 2013, and he never did get his back pay. He was off for a month. He was told they were going to get paid. They never did. I want to know what the status is right now with the DOD under this current shutdown, and whether or not we need to be worried about another furlough. Can you answer that for me, please?
Does your husband work at Tobiana?
Yes.
Okay, well, Tobiana we're in daily conversations with leadership, with the Department of Defense, and all the ongoing conversations. So what I heard originally about that back pay, I would love an opportunity to try to open a case file and get what you're due and what's deserving of you and your husband. So perhaps offline, you can give us a ring at our office, and whether you want to call the 44th office and work through Amy, or call the Washington, D.C. office, we would be happy to start a process there. The administration hasn't really rolled out much guidance yet as to what programs will remain, what programs will go. But I could tell you that if you're concerned about, national security during a shutdown, our military will continue to function as a government service pertinent to life and safety, and will operate normally. The investment inside of the drone program at Tobiana is incredible. I know earlier in the year there was some rumblings about the future of Tobiana. I know we addressed that perhaps on one of the first or second town halls that we did, but the depot, in my opinion, plays a key role in providing the joint services with essential command, control, communication, cyber. I mean, the list goes on, and it's just a cornerstone of Pennsylvania's 8th Congressional District. So I personally do not have any agita relevant to the continued operations of Tobiana Army Depot. In fact, it really is received quite well when I do have conversations with leadership. So I want to assure you and the community that we'll continue to provide and advocate for Tobiana and the family-sustaining jobs that it provides for northeastern Pennsylvania and the federal workers that are employed there. So just go back. Let's try to link up offline and find a way. If there's any more specifics that you may know more than us from the ground level, please let's keep that dialogue going.
Okay.
All right, another quick reminder, please take a moment and press *6 on your telephone keypad in order to get enrolled in the Congressman's newsletter distribution. Again, to get signed up to receive the Congressman's newsletter, please press *6. And our next caller with a question, we've got Evan joining us now on the line. Welcome to the call, Evan. You're live with Congressman Bresnahan. What's your question?
Yes, hello, Congressman. My question to you is, first of all, a statement. I wanted you to respond to my statement and the question. This seems to be a ridiculous shutdown because it's a clean, continuing resolution, and that the Republicans are asking for nothing. All they're asking for is 6 to 7 weeks time to go through the rest of the issues that they need to clarify. That's my statement. The question is, once this continuing resolution is adopted and moved forward, what are the 1 or 2 major points of contention between the Republicans and Democrats that need to get worked out to have a final resolution on the bill going forward?
So, great analysis of the clean continuing resolution. I feel that you summed it up perfectly. I would say, and onto the question side, a lot of the conversations are revolving around the Affordable Care Act tax credits. There's been a lot of discussions around the ACA tax credits. I'm an original co-sponsor of the only bipartisan legislation to extend these credits, and I'm going to continue to advocate for an extension of these credits. I'm committed to working across the aisle. It was something that we discussed from an earlier question about bipartisanship to keep the cost of living low. I'm not someone to resort to extreme tactics of using our troops and federal workers as hostages in negotiations, which is unfortunately where we have landed right now. I don't support jeopardizing paychecks for our troops overseas or law enforcement or Social Security offices, and that's really why I feel government is best when it's open. The reality is there is a time and a place, in my opinion, to have these dialogues and negotiations, but it's not by putting in a counterproposal filled with a litany of poison pills. And what's also, it's interesting, this same language was voted for 13 times by Democrats as recently as March. So I'm ready to pass the continuing resolution and get the government back open so we can figure out a way to solve some real problems for the American people. Something else that was included in the counterproposal was the elimination of was the Rural Transformation Fund. I feel it will deliver lasting results for northeastern Pennsylvania. This program will target real needs in our healthcare system, especially in our underserved and rural communities. It was something that we worked very closely with the administration to make sure northeastern Pennsylvania would qualify as a rural community when this rollout would begin. And I spent hours in the White House before H.R. 1 with CMS Administrator Oz and the Vice President and the President, and making sure that the language was applicable to our district. And I'm also committed to, bringing the funding back to our district, and I'll continue to work with our governor's team, the administrator, and the White House to make sure Pennsylvania sees the benefits of those programs. The ACA tax credits, there's a lot of noise around them. There's the temporary, there's the Affordable Care Act, and that's where we need to have these conversations and be able to negotiate. I know how vital they are to families in our district, but we can't really negotiate anything until the government reopens. And, I just feel there's a place and a time to have these dialogues through regular order. The ACA enhanced premium tax credits don't have an eligibility verification measure to ensure these benefits only go to lawful U.S. citizens and residents. And I want to have a conversation about potential reforms to these credits, which came about during COVID, something that we are talking about inside of our different caucuses, including the Problem Solvers Caucus, which is Republicans and Democrats, is about income caps And is it unlimited? Is it $200,000 a year? Is it $600,000 a year? But these are conversations where we need to find middle ground to meet on to be able to have some meaningful legislative change. So that seems to be the topic of conversation, which I feel that is driving this. But because this continuing resolution is so clean, there isn't any hooks. There's no talons in this. It is really Biden era level spending just continued. So I hope, I think the plan is for the House to reconvene next week. So hopefully there will be some movement to get the lights turned back on, figuratively.
All right, our next question, Congressman, is submitted by Marty through Facebook. He's wondering, what are you doing to ensure our military members are going to receive their paychecks?
So, Marty, thank you very much for the question. The paychecks, depending on what cycle you're compensated in or where you're falling into the pay period, during the shutdown, we're going to make our legislation that we co-sponsored was to make sure that our troops are getting paid. Is there any more detail on? So there's no detail on the question?
That's all I have on this question, sir.
So I guess the question is, when are federal workers going to receive their paycheck?
No, in specific, they're looking, Marty's wondering, what are you doing to ensure our military members are going to receive their paychecks?
So that's why from a legislative perspective, that's why we were an original co-sponsor on the Pay Our Troops Act. Inside of that was to include pay to our troops, our border agents, the TSA, the FAA workers. They will be reimbursed after funding resumes in the government. A lot of them are bi-monthly. So if we can solve this in the next week or a week and a few days, hopefully we can finalize this before the next pay period. So I told the speaker that this is something, and our team, and there's a lot of movement to make sure that our troops are getting paid. But it's going to come down to when, unfortunately, the government resumes funding in normal operations. So hopefully this is an expeditious recovery, that we are back to operating before the next pay period, and there won't be any disruptions. But I'm not sure. I really can't answer the question because I don't have an answer or a crystal ball.
Thank you, sir. And for everybody that's with us on the line, I'd like to do another poll question. If you will be so kind, please use your telephone keypad to respond to this question. Is the government shutdown going to impact you? Please press 1 for yes, press 2 for no. Again, everybody that's listening in, please use your telephone keypad to respond to this question. Is the government shutdown going to impact you? Please press 1 for yes, press 2 for no. A number of people are keying in their response. Thank you very much for participating. Your reply is very important to us. So next, we're going to go to Whitehaven. We've got Jonathan on the line with us. Jonathan, you're live with the Congressman. What's your question?
How you doing, Mr. Representative? My name is Jonathan. I'm a veteran, and I moved to Pennsylvania. And when I was moving here, I was looking for a VA hospital, and I found a great one in Wilkes-Barre. And I want to know, basically, how the government shutdown is going to affect me as a veteran. Now, I looked online, and I saw the Secretary of Veteran Affairs speaking that essential services wouldn't be closed, but that certain outreach programs might. And I know as a veteran that's one of the biggest problems that we have is letting veterans know what's basically information about how to get their benefits, and communication pretty much is one of the biggest problems with veterans. But that's kind of like my overall questions. How is that going to affect us as a veteran?
Thank you for your service. Thanks for taking the time to dial in. Many crucial benefits and services provided by the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs, including our wonderful VA hospital right there in Wilkes-Barre Township. They will continue for veterans during the shutdown. Essential functions of the VA that will continue are benefit processing, veteran health care and the Veterans Crisis Line, burials at VA national cemeteries. Some services, including education programs, career counseling, and training, may be unavailable during the shutdown. We have not seen any specific indications just yet, but processing like pensions, education, housing benefits, the Board of Appeals will continue to process appeals during the shutdown. It's important to note that a government shutdown will lead to some restrictions and disruptions. It'll be frustrating. There could be unusually long call time, but this is exactly why we need to reopen the government. The VA, I do know that they can't conduct public affairs outreach activities during the government shutdown. So this could mean that they receive an unusual communication from the support of the VA if they used it during that time. Regional offices could be closed. Career counseling, but use our office. Reach out if there's a specific program that you're having a hard time getting on the phone or getting in front of. That is what our team has 100% transitioned to be able to help with exactly what you're calling about. And we can point you into the right direction and make sure for all of our veterans that are on the call here today, that is what our job is right now until we can get this place to function again.
So, Congressman, I understand that's all the time we have for questions and to keep you on schedule. I just want to make sure, though, that we do give you a moment or two for some closing remarks, please.
Well, thank you to each and every one of you for joining us tonight. Your participation is so appreciated and very impactful. I know the government shutdown has resulted in a lot of confusion and questions on how this affects you. So I'm glad we were able to go over some of those details tonight. I know there are, I'm sure, hundreds more questions. But the most important thing is that if you are inadvertently swept up into what is happening, reach out to our offices. I'm going to give that phone number here again for Washington. It is 202-225-5546. Our 44th office is area code 570-763-6120. So that is where we can be very impactful and very helpful. I want you to know that through all of this, we will be here lockstep, our office in Washington, throughout northeastern Pennsylvania. We will remain open during the shutdown. Our team is all essential because if they weren't essential, they wouldn't be on our team. And we're going to continue to handle casework. Our casework team is phenomenal. We've returned over $3 million already back to northeastern Pennsylvania, predominantly IRS-based issues and turning around claim times. But if you didn't get your question answered tonight, feel free to call our office, visit our website, ask your question, and we will get you a response. I am honored that you chose me to advocate for you in Washington, and I'll continue to do so every single day, every single hour, every single minute. Thank you all. Stay safe and have a great night, and thanks again for calling.
Also, for everybody that joined us tonight, if you want to stay up to date on Congressman Bresnahan's work, please follow him on Facebook, X, and Instagram, the handle @RepBresnahan. If you'd like to subscribe to his newsletter at this point in the call, just stay on the line, leave us your name and email address after the tone. Thanks for sharing part of your evening with us. We hope you stay healthy and safe and have a great night. This concludes today's live event. Goodbye.